All right. So, Kev, we are back. There's always this beautiful delay at the beginning where it says it's setting up. There's always that second, but I've learned by now, based on the first 15 seconds of other things we've led, that you just start talking. So you just start talking. So we're happy to be back here with for everybody in our membership. Just the first thing that we'll mention when we're kicking things off today, this is in the title, of course, but today, as we kind of promised last week and as we set up this week, we are just basically going to cover two articles that we randomly chose in depth. And this, by the way, doesn't mean we're going to be like tearing it apart, really just offering some constructive feedback and trying to, notice a few things that can be helpful for you moving forwards. And then just because, at the beginning, we really want to show that extra love to our membership, we'll do a brief review of the other articles too. So it's not just two articles. The last thing I'll mention before I pass it on over to you, Kev, is just that people should realize from the group today that we launched our new course today, Understanding and Increasing Site Authority, which Kev is understandably pumped about, and he led the charge on that one in some big ways. So just, I'm biased as all hell, but I think that was a fantastic job. So I'll pass it on over to you, Kev. Excited to be back with you. It's been so long.
It's been a solid week since we last did a Facebook Live. So I think we're all excited to be here now.
Yeah, incredible.
As Chris mentioned, what we're going to do is we did ask for submissions, and we said that we would randomly choose two articles from the group. What we decided to do instead was to still do those in-depth reviews on two articles, but also make sure that everyone got some value by submitting their articles. So we have gone through and done a review of every article that was submitted. And we'll start off with the two big ones and break those down. And then we'll go through kind of a lighter review for the rest of them. I wish we had time for an in-depth review on all of them, but we really went to town on these. So I wanted to make sure that we did a good job on them. So I'm going to start off with Erin Lee's article on unique baby shower gift ideas. So this was a really well-laid article. Erin did a fantastic job on things like titling and structure and things like that. The way we're going to break down each of these articles is we're going to look at some of the metrics in terms of difficulty and key search volume, give some ideas on alternative topics that could have been used instead or possibly used for later articles. Have a look at things like page speed and how those things work, your titles. And then we're going to break down the articles themselves, from the content to the titling to content that might have been missed that could help boost your content up through the rankings. So to start off with, we can have a look at Erin's article. And this article had a keyword difficulty in key search of 49, which is a fairly difficult key search volume or a key search ranking to match. Generally, if you're looking in the 50s, if you're looking to compete with articles in the 50s, it's good to be somewhere in the 40s, high 30s to 40s yourself. Erin, your website is about a 31. So it's getting close to that level where it can compete. The key search volume on this, and I used baby shower gift ideas rather than unique baby shower gift ideas. I think the unique was just kind of an add-on. The key search volume on that was 2,900, which is a decent volume to reach. And I was looking at the Canadian audience for that. I was not looking for all locations. I know your audience is Canadian. So an alternative for key search volume for this would have been ideal gifts for baby shower, or gifts for baby shower probably would have been more ideal. 2,900 is the search volume on that one. The ranking is a little bit lower at 48. And gifts for baby shower, it's actually even a little bit lower than that at 46. Your page speed was clocking in at 15, and that was based on 3 separate searches using the Google Page Speed Insight. So what this is telling me is that it's a very high competition keyword. And in the case of this article with baby shower gift ideas, you're competing against some really, really heavy hitters with some very high domain authorities. We're talking like multi-million-dollar, marketing budgets in companies that are really focused on that baby shower market. I noticed that in this case, you are focusing, by using the word Canadian edition, you're obviously directing your message towards a Canadian audience. But from an SEO perspective, it's a difficult target to reach because the competition is so high. I mean, these are companies that have the budget to pay for their sites to be in those top 3 or 4 positions on Google automatically, because they make the money back in spades on their either affiliate income or their direct sales. That being said, that doesn't mean that the article doesn't have any value, because what you can use it for, and what I believe you're probably using it for, is a click-to article that would support other content on your website. So, for example, you've got content on baby showers and food and things like that. I noticed that you have articles that are specifically about food for baby showers. So using this as a click-through article to support that content that has a higher potential of ranking is a really solid strategy. For example, I know you have a very, very highly rated article on Oreo baby rattles, and I pulled up a photo of that. Chris, if you could just turn on screen sharing for me.
Oh, I can do that.
And I can show
You're good.
the perfect. Pull up the image.
It's always when you need it the most, right?
Of course it is. Yes. Hold on. There we go. Okay. So if I click over to here, you have an Oreo baby rattles article, and almost all of your top ranking keywords mention this. This is a snack that you guys have written about that is specifically focused on providing food for baby showers. Yet your article does not link to your baby shower article. So by using that high ranking article to that's going to get volume, traffic volume, because it's your highest ranked article and it has a pretty decent page authority. You can then direct that traffic to other affiliate style posts like this one, where you can get those click-throughs, you can raise the value of both posts, and then hopefully earn some income from it. I'm gonna turn off my screen sharing here. Can I turn off my screen? There we go, it's at the top. It's only been a week, guys, and I've already forgotten. Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at is your URL. URLs are very important because they tend to be the way that people share your article link. So in our Introduction to SEO course, I mentioned that having a brief URL is valuable. First of all, it lets Google see things, because Google tends to truncate everything, especially when they're showing it on Google search results and things like that. And the other thing is the longer the URL, the more difficult it is to remember. So when you use your URL, and I'm going to share my screen again.
We should have like intermediary music that we use, like do, 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 do.
Okay, so your URL is littlemissKate.ca/family/baby/your URL for the actual article. So I can see by this that you are using category tags in the shape of family life and baby. I don't recommend using category tags in your URL. If you have the ability to remove those for articles that aren't performing or for future articles moving forward, you will likely be in a better position SEO wise, because it will reduce your URL length by about a dozen characters. So that's
I was just
that
going to ask though,
might,
Kev, for somebody who is going to go ahead and do that and to potentially remove categories, is there a concern there about people who have, perhaps people who are linking back to that URL, which includes that tag?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. There are, and which is why I mentioned doing it for non-performing articles and for articles moving forward. The reason for this is if you just change the URL on an article, any link to that article is going to end up in a 404 error. It'll essentially just won't work anymore. So what you need to do is use a 301 redirect, which will point your old URL to your new URL. So for example, if you were to change this to littlemissKate.ca/unique baby shower gift ideas Canadian edition, you would point the old URL to the new URL, and then it would be a relatively seamless process for most of the people visiting. If you have a very high ranking article, the one that gets a lot of traffic, you might want to not do that for that, because it's already getting quite a bit of traffic and it might not be suffering as heavily from having a longer URL. But having a shorter URL for, kind of as a rule is a better idea. So moving on to, too many tabs open. Okay, moving on to your title. Unique baby shower gift ideas Canadian edition. It's clear and concise. I mentioned earlier that by adding Canadian, that you're linking out, you're looking for specifically Canadian affiliates. If you're not doing that, then you might be reducing possible click-throughs. So that's something to consider. As an option, you might consider as an alternative title something a little bit more clickbaity. So something along the lines of unique baby shower gift ideas, how to thrill your friends with the perfect baby gift. This allows you to use your keyword in your article, but also add something at the end that's a little bit more clickbaity for social media sharing. Generally, Google likes short titles under 69 characters where your primary keyword is somewhere near the beginning. The reason it's 69 characters is anything after 69 characters gets cut off in Google search, and people who are looking for it won't see it. So this way, unique baby shower gift ideas, which appears right at the start, it's not going to get cut off. But when you're sharing on things like Facebook or Twitter or anything like that, where people can see the entire title, they tend to get excited by those longer titles. And this gives you the opportunity to kind of sell your post a little harder using the title sequence rather than just go with what Google likes for analytics rankings. It also gives you the chance to add a second keyword, which is the perfect baby gift towards the end. So it doesn't hurt that way either. All right, moving on to your content. So
You want to be sharing the article for this, or are you just going to chat about it? I'm happy.
I will do a little bit of both, I think.
Okay, cool.
Because I got my notes in front of me, because I know I'm not, I don't have a good enough memory to do all this.
Please, whatever works, my friend. I was just wanted to make sure you weren't, you didn't think you were sharing, but do whatever pleases you.
And so your main keyword for this article appears to be unique baby shower gift ideas or baby shower gift ideas. If it's unique baby shower gift ideas, your main keyword only shows up in the H1 title. It doesn't show up anywhere else within the article, at least in its full form. So by using, if you're just going with baby shower gift ideas, you've got far more options. I believe it shows up around 15 times in the article. So it's solid amount for the number of words that you have in this article. You're also using good use of the year and number in the title sequence. So I can see that you're updating the post for 2021. It's current. That means it's relevant to me when I'm searching. So I don't go in and I see an article on the best baby gift ideas, but I don't click on it because I'm worried it was written in 2007 and none of the stuff is available anymore. For this, I'm going to share my screen again, as I want you to see this. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is something that I mentioned the other day in the group, which is above the fold content. So what above the fold content means is anything that you see when you first load up a website. And that is what we have here. So when we load up your website, we see your contact us about the exploring family, your social channels, your main banner, your main menu, the title, which is unique baby shower gift ideas, and then an ad, and then another ad. So what there is not within the above the fold content is anything about your content beyond the title. And Google likes to see content sit above the fold. They're pushing it more and more now with their latest updates. What I had mentioned before is doing something where you would have unique baby shower gift ideas, Canadian edition, followed by a little snippet that you could put right about here that would have the text that outlines what your article is about. And that's basically your sell point to your audience. It's your elevator pitch about this specific article. Then you could put your feature image underneath that. I would recommend, if you have the ability to do that using like div tags and things like that, try to save this advertising space for below the content so that it's not taking up that ranking space that you could then be using. Okay. One of the other things that I noticed in your article, it's really well laid out. It's very well structured, but some of your content, especially in the first paragraph, could be written in a way that's a little bit easier to digest. People generally, when they're heading to a website, they like to be able to skim content, which means that they're not necessarily looking for those long, full sentences, especially on things like listicles, which is what this is. Like, this is a list of the top 10 products, and people who click on listicles are looking to skim that article until they see something that catches their eye and makes them want to buy it. So in your initial paragraph, you've got some longer sentences that I think could be broken up into shorter bits that the audience could suck in a little bit quicker. From what it says now, I would consider changing, or I would consider rewriting it to choosing a baby shower gift for a friend can be tough, period. Especially if you are not a parent yourself, or if it's been many years since you had a little one, period. The baby product market has changed a lot over the years, period. Our list of the best baby shower gifts will help you choose between a gift from the mom's baby registry and going it your own to choose from these unique baby shower gifts that you know she'll fall in love with. It's a way to kind of add a call to action where you are welcoming people to click through to the articles to find the products that they like. And it also breaks it up so that the sentences are a little bit shorter and a little bit easier to read. Google also pays attention to sentence length, and they actually, part of the ranking system is how easy an article is to read. And the harder it is to read, the less they're going to show it to people who digest websites that are that tend to be simpler. So they actually do rank content based, ranking is the wrong word. Because everyone's search terms and search quality is different. Everything is unique to them, kind of like a fingerprint. So the type of content that certain people look for, that kind of content will be recommended to them over and over and over and over again. So for things like listicles, having simpler wording makes it easier, which makes Google want to show it to the people who read listicles even more.
And I was also just going to add in super quickly that, while it's not an explicit ranking factor, time on page is a ranking factor, et cetera. So, if you're having, you certainly don't want to dumb down your language by any means, but it might just mean that if you have one big paragraph, consider how you can split that into, 2 or 3 sentences that would just be easier to digest. And it's just about that idea of like, it's not the one thing. It's the idea that it will lead to a better time on page. It's going to lead to people trusting your content more. It might lead people to go to your newsletter. And it's not about dumbing things down as much as making it easier to digest.
Exactly. So next we'll move to subtitling, which you've done an excellent job on. You have good use of structure, and Google likes structure to help with the flow of the article. One thing that I like to do is Google search the keyword that I'm writing the article about, and use some of the information that it comes up with in order to help me figure out how to structure the article better. So, whoops, I'm sharing the wrong page here. So I'm going to show you what I use here and where it comes up with. Okay. So, and that's this section right here. So when you do a Google search for your keyword, you'll usually see a section that says people also ask. What I often do is I'll take these things directly, and what I will do is I will make a section on my page that answers that question in a snippet, with the idea that if you are answering questions within your article that people also ask, then Google will say, this article has the answers to not just the main keyword question, but also some of the most important or most asked keywords that are also out there. So it gives you a chance to lengthen your content, add a little bit more fluff to it, and also gather more traffic by nailing these keywords as well, which are probably not primary keywords themselves, but would be solid secondary keywords. All right, your product's descriptions seem to be mostly quoted from the manufacturer's web descriptions. This can be, this is probably not a major issue because this isn't an SEO focused article. But if it was an SEO focused article where you are trying to get clicks based on the content itself rather than from traffic from other articles within your website, I'd recommend rewriting those descriptions in your own words. Not only does Google appreciate unique content, but it gives you the opportunity to plug secondary and tertiary keywords into the article. Another thing to note is that the article is a bit image heavy. Images are really great at conveying emotion, and they connect users to the products that you're listing. but consider using just a single hard-hitting image per product rather than multiple ones, unless you're describing how a product itself works. This can really increase your page speed and drop your load times. And it also helps with click-through rate. So that's something to consider. Another thing I noticed that I think you could probably benefit from is a call to action. Because this is an affiliate focused article where you're talking about a list of specific products, I'd recommend adding a call to action to each one of those sections of products where you are going through and you are saying, hey, order it now on Amazon, or click here to find the product on the Snuggleby website, etc. Because it gives people that little kick to say, oh, okay, I will click on it. And then, whether you're partnering with someone or whether you're working on affiliate income or things like that, that's going to boost your rankings. It's going to get your website more attention from the partner, and it's going to increase your events on page, which is another thing that Google looks at. And when it comes to links on your website, the initial links are to your own content, which is excellent. External links open in a new tab, which is how they should work. One thing I did notice, though, is that your links to the products and to the partner websites are not no follow. I noticed at the bottom that you mentioned that post was sponsored by those companies. So that is a red flag when it comes to Google. Google wants you to use no follow links for any sponsored content whatsoever. So if you've received free product, if you've been paid to do something, etc., then you should be using no follow links.
It should be said that the company
that can be, sorry,
the company, but the company that you're working with is going to want a do follow link. So it's just, that's one of those things that you got to be a little bit, you've got to be conscious of and make the decision yourself. And we can talk a little bit more about that moving forward, but it's not uncommon, for best practice to use a no follow link, but the company, of course, wants that link juice from you. So there, perhaps a sponsored post will be contingent upon you putting do follow links in there, which is a gray area, certainly. And
it's
more than a gray
something
area.
You would want to be concerned about if someone was asking for that.
Yeah, I mean, there are certain cases, I've had certain cases where it's an absolutely ideal fit, and it works out in a way that it makes a lot of sense, and I can consider it. But there are some instances where it's like, for example, if anybody ever emails you with a opportunity to insert a casino link for $50 or something like that, I mean, that is, you couldn't find a bigger red flag than that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that pretty much wraps up my my walkthrough of this article, and I think that was fairly thorough. And if you do have any other questions, Aaron, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'll be happy to ask them.
Yeah, and we can probably share some of those notes or something like that on the tail end of this, but hopefully that was helpful. I mean, I think the whole idea of this is that the two of us would just each tackle one article and try and do the best we could to offer actionable feedback. And then, of course, people who are listening and watching along can take some of that advice. I know Lindsay had a question there, but let's do questions at the end.
Agreed.
I'll just tackle this. We are going to cut this off at 4, so we have about half an hour left, and I think I just probably shouldn't take me too long, but I am covering my main man, Devindra's post. It's 24 hours in Virginia Beach. Here's where to eat, sleep, and play. So I'll do kind of what Kev did as well, and I'll also share my screen for certain parts of this, just so anyone who's watching can be on board with it. But, of course, also you're welcome to go to the thread that was posted earlier in the week and just click on those articles and follow along with us if you want as well. But anyways, this article was targeting the keywords 24 hours in Virginia Beach. You can feel free to post that link if you want, by the way, Kev. But anyways, it was 24 hours in Virginia Beach. So I did a little bit of research around, who was searching for 24 hours in Virginia Beach, et cetera, and found that there was a huge search intent for keywords around Virginia Beach, such as things to do in VA Beach, things to do in Virginia Beach with kids, things to do in Virginia Beach, period. But not, there was a zero search volume for 24 hours in Virginia Beach. So I can speak from experience. The best thing to do if you're writing about something like this is to think like, I would, if I wanted to write about 24 hours in a place, for example, I have an article on 24 hours in Bangkok, and that ranks well for me because there's a huge amount of search for, because Bangkok has such a popular airport, there's a huge amount of people who have short layovers. So 24 hours in Bangkok, one day in Bangkok, an afternoon in Bangkok, all of these keywords work well in one article that will all be of the same thing. I can use subheaders throughout, one day in Bangkok, how to make the most of your day in Bangkok. I basically get this list on key search of 20, 25 keywords that all work beautifully and interchangeably. So that's the first thing I would consider. In this case, you have one day in Virginia Beach, and that's a fairly low search volume as well. That being said, you can sprinkle that throughout. So in this case, I'm not necessarily recommending that you change your title from 24 hours in Virginia Beach to something else. But you can consider whether that's going to serve you better. And I'm going to recommend a larger approach to the way you might want to think about this, and then you can sort of digest that and think about what works best for you. So first thing, I'll just share my screen to make it easier so everyone kind of is on board with what I'm looking at here, and I'll make sure that I make it really painful, and it takes a long time. Okay, here we are. So with this post, a few things that I wanted to mention. So you have a DA of 29, which gives you, some power to rank for some of the larger keywords around this topic. There are a few things that I want to mention off the bat, kind of like Kev mentioned here. These two links up here are outbound links to Visit Virginia Beach and to virginia.org. I know that Kev and I are both big, especially on Ultimate Ontario, to making sure that our first link, particularly the link that's in your first like if you're going to link to something in your first paragraph, is linking to related content on your site, because that initial link juice that you're lending is strong in Google's eyes. And probably in the case of if you're working with a tourism board here, they might not, they might just appreciate a link period, and they're not going to notice if you casually insert your own content up at the top as opposed to somewhere else. So that's
one thing I'd like to note too is adding links, even really to your own content, unless it's super, super important in the first paragraph, is something you might want to reconsider, just because if people are clicking away that early in the article, then that's going to lead to some high bounce numbers.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, and that's something you want to be wary of, right? Because that's a huge signal for Google. If your bounce rate is like 94% or something like that. Right. So as far as this article is concerned, I think, it's firstly, there's a ton of great pictures throughout. I think it's, fairly well organized, a lot of great content that I, appreciate. Like this gives me what I need to go and explore Virginia Beach, which, that's kind of one of our main goals, is if you're writing about travel, is to make sure that someone's locked and loaded to spend 24 hours here. From an SEO perspective, though, there are a few things we can look at. So the first thing I did want to mention is just some of those alternate keywords that you could use as opposed to 24 hours in Virginia Beach. There are, like, as I said, things to do in VA Beach, things to do in Virginia Beach with kids. All of these articles would give you a little bit more to work with. From the onset, quite honestly, when I was looking at this and thinking about this more carefully, I see here that you're covering quite a bit here. You're covering where to eat, where to sleep, where to play, things to do. I would honestly split those into 3 full-fledged articles. Have a full article on where to sleep filled with affiliate links for your preferred hotel, like Booking or what have you. Have a full article on where to eat and go in depth on all of the restaurants here, kind of like you did in this article. And then use a keyword like Virginia attractions and have a full article on the attractions. So you have these 3 posts on your site as opposed to one on attractions, one on eating, and one on sleeping. And then you build out this monolithic post Virginia Beach, what to do was one of the keywords that we spotted there. And we can share all these notes with you, of course, Vindra. But the idea being that the monolithic broad keyword, if you have 3 articles that are carefully covering the topic, you're going to be able to interlink between all of these beautifully. And then within that huge article, then you can have the where to eat, sleep, and play or whatever, but you have those full articles for someone who's looking more in depth, and they're all pointing, forwards and backwards to each other. So that's one thing that came to mind for me. Beyond keywords, I mentioned the links here. You've got a lot of outbound links in here, which I would probably use a touch more sparingly. I would personally use more inbound links. I mean, just because something isn't a perfect fit, anytime you mention, there could be another time that you mention a beach or something like that. That's a place you could mention other beach content. I don't know if you've tried Local Oyster somewhere. Like there's plenty of opportunities for you here to link to some of your other content. Next up, I just wanted to mention headers. With whatever keywords you're trying to attack, I mean, I think there's a lot of potential here for you to use your headers for more than just guiding people. For example, just adding something like day 1 in Virginia Beach might serve you well. Lunch in Virginia Beach. I mean, adding some of these things at the same time too. You don't want all of your keywords to utilize, you don't want all of your headers to utilize the same keywords, but there is some potential here for you to, like something like day 1, not only by adding some keywords here, like day 1 in Virginia Beach or something like that, not only are you sort of making the article more clear, but you're giving yourself some more SEO potential there. What else? Did you have anything you wanted to add to that, Kev, off of some of what I've been saying? I mean, I have more to go through, but
that covers a solid point. I mean, adding in that, some alternative keywords into the headers. I mean, here you've got Virginia Beach Boardwalk. That's a good one, but there's a lot of missed opportunities for adding secondary and tertiary keywords to headers.
And this guy right here, this could be its own article. Like, it doesn't have to be a behemoth. If you have 3 1,250 word articles on Virginia Beach, that's going to serve your site a lot better than one article that's 24 hours. And that's something Kevin and I talk about quite a bit, is the idea of, like, one reason that we specifically have a niche site in Ontario is that it's easy to link in between things and gain authority on certain topics. With a broader site like Goat Roti articles, and same for Traveling Mission, same for Wandering Waggers, it becomes a hell of a lot more important to have that secondary and tertiary content to support it. So I have 3 or 4 articles on Ireland on purpose, just because writing one is, it's not going to serve me in the long term in the way having 3 or 4. So in this case, this isn't even necessarily saying what to do about this with this post of Indra. It's more just about thinking about how you could space this out moving forward. This article is so large and research intensive and well written that I'm thinking to myself, it probably wouldn't take you any longer to split this into 3 succinct posts and then have that 4th larger what to do or things to do in Virginia Beach. And with a DA of, I think, close to 30 or around 30, you might not get on the front page for things to do in Virginia Beach as it stands, but there's a decent chance you could get on things to do for Virginia Beach on the front page if you had these 3 other articles linking to.
And the other value of that too is that if you get one of those articles to rank, then it drives traffic to the other articles that you have that support it, which is fantastic. It's such a great way to get content. Like, it can be difficult to rank for every single keyword about a destination, but if you rank for one of the really solid ones, then that acts as a driver for all of your other content.
Yeah, and as Kev had mentioned, if you don't have key search, a really simple tactic to think about what else, what other articles you could write to pad it, is just type in 24 hours in Virginia Beach and go to that people also ask section. In this case, there is one that says, where can I get laid in Virginia Beach? Perhaps don't write about that one, but
not recommended.
Yeah, that one's not recommended. We're not throwing the full recommendation there. The last thing I would say is that we just, as far as I ran a few tests on the site speed, and particularly on mobile, the site speed is just struggling a little bit. You have a ton of images here, and so I just would want to make sure that you have some sort of plugin that you're running, like WP Smoosh or some plugin that's maybe I didn't see any lazy loading, but something that's maybe doing a lazy load or crushing your images. a little bit, making them a little bit smaller. If you are, doing things manually, you can use something like resize-photos.com. I think that's the exact site, or tiny JPEG. And if you're looking for what size would be appropriate for adding them in sort of manually, if you're looking at the size there, something around 200 KB is something that I aim for. I think I'm just thinking about, because I have one of my sites on Squarespace. I know Squarespace, they make a point of saying like, do not put images on this site over 500 KB, but if you can get it 200 KB and it looks sharp, that's great. Right, so that's kind of the run through there. Plenty of positives. I mean, this basically, the point is this loads me up really well to eat to my heart's content and enjoy the heck out of this experience. It's just about framing this a little bit better. So if I was you, I would just honestly build out some of that other content to connect to it. Make 2 or 3 other articles that will suit you well, that would be easy to write about. Even look at some of the keywords. Like, you might want to have your own article on getting to Virginia Beach. Like, these things, all of these can be, good articles. And I know there was another keyword that I spotted that looked pretty yummy. That was like, what to do near Virginia Beach. If you went anywhere on your way, that's another thing you could look at. So I try to make that good and succinct for you. Plenty to be happy about with this article. It's not it's not like it's some overt criticism. I think there's plenty, to be happy with, but there's tons of potential. And I think that's largely what we're trying to do here, is just show like the immense amount of potential that you can see there. I hope that was helpful, my friend. As I said before, as Kev said, we're happy to talk further about that. We can share some of our notes in that, but I hope that was helpful. We'll come back here and spend the last kind of 18 minutes here just making quick comments on the rest of the articles here. Sadly, I have a phone call right at 3 p.m., which just makes things interesting, just keeps that hourglass turned over with a certain intensity. But it also forced us to not spend 3 hours and 45 minutes, which Kevin and I could do. So why don't we go take the last 18 minutes here to talk about the rest of the kind people who shared their content. And I think as well, if we don't have time to get to some of these questions, we'll answer them via text. Like, I know Lindsay has a question there. We can answer her question via text afterwards, if need be. So why don't you kick it off with Rena's article on winter boot styles for women.
Sounds good. All right, Rena's article on winter boot styles for women, 2020.
I'll throw a link there for anyone listening, by the way.
The ranking difficulty on this was 44. The key search volume, and I did a search for winter boot styles for women, was 0. So there's a bit of a flag there, but there was an alternative for winter boots for women, which had a ranking difficulty of 31, which is much lower, and a key search volume of 22,000. So one thing that I might consider doing, or that you might consider doing, is targeting that winter boot styles or winter boots for women keyword, because that is a bit of a monster, and it seems like one that you could possibly get in for. Your page speed was 16, which and that was after 3 checks. So I would recommend looking at like what Chris said, things like lazy loading and caching software that can hopefully get your page speed up. My initial thoughts on your article were that it was well laid out, and I'm gonna do a screen share here so that you can see it. Whoop, no, not that one. Yeah, there we go. There we go. I can do this.
I believe in you.
There we go. You believe in me? Thank you. So the article's well laid out. It's got a good flow to it, good use of headers,
nice photography,
great pictures and things like that. One thing that I mentioned to Rena, she had some concerns about some web style issues. And I think that comes from a lot of these affiliate images that are being used in the article. And they're quite large. And because you're using so many images within a single post, and none of these images are really maximized or efficiently sized for the specific article, they're all loading much larger images than what need to be shown on the article itself. So when you do that, unfortunately, the situation that you end up with is a low site speed. And with the importance that Google puts on site speed, that can be a big hit to your website. Another quick thing is that you mentioned 2020 in your URL. If you're going to do another article, I would consider trashing this article completely and making a new one with no date, and then just updating it every year with the new year in the title, rather than updating an article that has a URL with an incorrect date in it. Wrong window. Your title, again, you mentioned 2020 and 2021. I'd recommend going with a single one because it's shows a little bit more trust in the article as something that is current. But beyond that, I mean, I think it's a nicely laid out article. I think you went into it with one idea, and that idea can be expanded upon very well into something that you can continue year over year.
Yep. And the last thing I was just going to add is there's some potential here for you to sneak some keywords into your outro. At the bottom of the page there, it kind of goes, the post finishes with just some more affiliate images, but you have the potential to add one more, probably even H2 header. That's something along the lines of like, that's a wrap on winter boot styles for women, or whatever alternative keyword you might want to go for. And then just write, one more or two more personal paragraphs that just kind of wrap things up. That's just an easy SEO play. And also I think it's like a nice thing for readers as well, because it's you put a fair bit of effort in that article. Obviously, is plenty of great photos you've taken, you added all this text up at the top, and you just want to make sure you add that little thanks in at the bottom there. So Kev, did you want to show your screen for this one as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So next one we're talking about is Cassandra, and she was sharing her article on the best dude ranch vacation in Canada for families. Cassandra, you make some excellent content. Your stuff is really, really well laid out. You have a solid understanding of structure, which is really good. Your images are quite nice and bold and easy to follow. So it's well laid out article there. What I will chat about, and I'm just apologize. I don't, unlike Mr. Mitchell over there, I do not have two screens. So I can either read or I can show at a time. So the ranking difficulty for this was 14, and I did that based on Dude Ranch Canada. But it's limited a little bit because of its inclusion of the words vacation and for families. The key search volume on it is 40, so not a particularly high key search volume. An alternative might be Dude Ranch BC, which has a difficulty of 26 and a key search volume of 210. Your page speed is 66, which is pretty good. So I wouldn't complain about that. It can always be higher, but it's higher than mine. So you're doing something well there. Your title is clear and concise. One thing that I would suggest is that beware of writing a best article when you're referencing a single topic. When I do a search of a best of topic, what I tend to be looking for is a list of options that would be more in a listicle form rather than the best blah, and then I go there and there's only one thing and it's telling me that is the best, period. There's no other options. And it also limits your ability to write that listicle that might be an overarching kind of a cornerstone article that might cover more dude ranches in BC or Canada and things like that. So you're kind of slicing your opportunities off by using that straight away.
Yeah. I'll just mention what I was going to say related to that. So just, I think it's very thorough. I think this strikes me as a post that, like, if you keep doing this, with the photos that you have, how very clear everything is laid out, really nice use of bolding throughout. I think, to me, this is a style that pays dividends over time. And it strikes me that if you keep putting the shovel down, like, time is going to do some of the effort for you, because if you keep putting these posts out, Google is going to start to have a good amount of respect for you. The only thing I was going to say is that I really like the related note throughout the article, where you have like a little separate part for related, but there's also some potential in this article for more interlinking. So I looked at some of your categories, and I know that some categories only have 1 or 2 articles so far, at least the ones that I saw. As those grow out, I wouldn't be scared to link some of the text as well, not just the related. That's just me. Maybe that's more personal preference, but there were some opportunities there, that I saw for some more linking, especially as you get further. Of course, there are some articles which are going to be more conducive to linking. I mean, I know on Untitled Ontario, we just did a Spring in Ontario post that was basically just, a giant excuse to go on a link frenzy based on all our headers there, and people can check that out if they want to see kind of the tactic around that. That isn't this, obviously, but I think there's plenty to be happy with this year. That was really the only thing that caught my eye. As you get more and more content on your site, don't be scared to relate, build out add some links to that related content. And then we got our good pal, Miss Davies.
Do you want me to start up on that?
Yeah, go for it, bud.
All right. So Lindsay, your ranking difficulty for your Sioux style is 14. I did that based on restaurants in Sault Ste. Marie, but it's limited. No, that's incorrect. The key search volume on it was 2,900. No real alternative on that one, because it's a very solid, straight up makes sense. Your page speed on this was 18. So again, you've got some work to do on getting your page speed up. Consider lazy loading and some cache software.
That was for mobile though. We're using the numbers from mobile, right? Is that correct for the page speed?
I'm using Google Page Speed Insights, which focuses
it defaults to mobile. Yeah, it defaults to mobile. So just know, for the numbers that we're giving for page speed, if you put that into desktop, your number would be significantly higher. But we're focused right now on mobile, just generally, because mobile is the future.
I'm going to show my lip. Okay, so here's the article as I see it. Again, it's a nicely laid out article, nice big bold pictures with good content descriptions throughout. You got lots of detail here, and you've definitely gone in depth into the city and things like that. So I think that's a really solid way to present the food. One of the things that you might want to consider is the way that your title is laid out. So the title for your article is Fuel Up Sioux Style at These Top Restaurants in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Google generally only shows the first 69 characters in a search result. So your title is 71 characters long, which means the last section of Ontario gets truncated. I would suggest possibly rephrasing or reorganizing your title to Top Restaurants in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, How to Fuel Up Sioux Style, similar to what we talked about with Aaron's post earlier. This moves your, I'm sorry, my printer just went off.
It happened once per webinar.
Benefits of homeschooling. This moves your keyword up closer to the front of the article, where it's going to get more attention. It becomes more relevant when people are doing those searches. And then, but you still get that nice long title that will help draw people in.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Chris. I think you had a thought on that as well, right?
Oh, no. I was just going to agree with you that like I used to sort of start off. I try to make a point now of making sure that my keywords right at the beginning, because I'm assuming, one, that people are always in a rush and they're just trying to they're making quick boom, 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 pow decisions. And also that 69 character things for things being showed. If you have, in this situation, it could be like something about whatever golf course, this is the best, and you want to make sure that you're starting off with one of the best golf courses in Ontario, then the title. Sometimes, I mean, obviously it's going to be very dependent on what the article is, but knowing that 69 character cutoff is quite helpful.
Something, again, I mentioned with Aaron's post too is above the fold content. You asked a question in the thread about mobile versus desktop. Yes, it's true that Google prioritizes mobile over desktop, but what we should not ever do is assume that that means Google does not take into consideration desktop. So generally what they look for mobile, I would recommend also doing for desktop, because it's true that like 65% of all search volume through Google comes from mobile, but that still means that there's 35% coming from desktop, and they're not just going to ignore that. So by reducing that header size and having some of your content show up above the fold, you're not going to hurt yourself, and it just has the potential of benefit without injuring your content further.
Yeah.
One other thing is just the use of subtitles. If you reorganize your content under different headers, such as like the best upscale restaurant in Sioux, the top casual food in Sioux, it gives you a chance to use some secondary and tertiary keywords while also making your headers and the flow of your article a little bit more beneficial to the people who are reading, who might be looking for a very specific type of restaurant rather than just the name of the restaurant itself.
Yeah. And I mean, I thought the post was like incredibly thorough. Totally. Like if I was the tourism board, I would be like, oh, this kicks ass. It's just those small tweaks that will just make it more visible for you. I mean, even just something to consider. You gave some incredible descriptions of all the meals. I got such a good feel for the restaurants and things like that, but you could really easily organically add in some extra sentences, like, and that's what makes this one of the best restaurants in Sault Ste. Marie. Like I saw some opportunities there where there was, maybe three or four chances where you could have been like, and that's why I consider this one of the best restaurants, or they're regularly considered one of the best restaurants. Just use some of those keywords, that full sort of keyword phrase. I should also just mention before we go into the last one here, I am taking a call in like 2 minutes. So if that call comes right on time, then I will make Big Kev here the host for to go in the last one. But we just have 2 minutes left, so hopefully we can squeeze it in here, and then we can, talk to Katie. I said Casey a little bit more if need be. But go for it. Let's see if we can get her done.
The last one is Casey, so this should be fast. Casey is sharing his dad influencers. Find the full list here. So I'm just gonna pull that one up. Give me one moment here. Okay, so share my screen. Okay, so this is Casey's article with that big bold title with the next piece of information on the subheader underneath it. Some good images, although they'd be better if I was in it. I also really like this article because I'm mentioned in it, so I might be a little bit biased here. But Casey's article is very thorough. It's targeting. From what I get out of it, it's targeting PR companies and marketing and things like that, with the idea of.
Hey, Kev, I'm gonna make you the host here, okay?
You got it, buddy.
I got a call right now. I love everybody. I'm just gonna mute myself here.
And so this is something that seems, in my opinion, to be targeted towards marketing and PR, with the idea of selling yourself, and then also adding as an SEO link back tool, which I will get into in just a moment. So again, I apologize that I cannot show my screen at the same time here because I don't have two monitors, but I will talk a little bit about it. So the ranking difficulty for Canadian dad influencers is 22. However, it does have a key search volume of 0, which is specifically, I'm sure, because it is directed towards PR and marketing companies. So there's a very small number of people who look for it, but the small number of people who look for it are very influential. An alternative for this might be Canadian Dad Bloggers, which has a ranking difficulty of 20, also a key search volume of 0, but I'm sure if you use that within your terms, as a secondary keyword within your article, you would get some value out of it. Your page speed is 35, which isn't terrible and isn't great. It's somewhere in the middle. It could definitely be improved. Your title is clear and concise, and the only thought that I had is it might be a bit big. It pretty much takes up the entire above the fold content with the exception of your subtitle beneath it. By shrinking that, you might be able to get some more of that content to rise above the fold, and then you get an article that could potentially rank a little bit better. The content itself is well laid out. It offers a solid expose onto the topic. There's great information in there. It's obviously something that you're very passionate about. Your audience is likely the PR media market, and as such, the higher search volume isn't really relevant. It's not a post that's going to generate huge traffic, but it could open up excellent opportunities for business. That being said, because it's also a listicle where you're mentioning a lot of people who are relevant content creators, some of those people will have very high DAs. Writing an article like this is actually an excellent point in getting links back to your site, because by writing a listicle where you're mentioning a lot of other people and you're giving them praise for doing what they do, a lot of people will likely link back to that article from there saying, hey, look here, Casey Palmer, the Canadian dad, mentioned me in an article as one of the best Canadian dad bloggers. You can find that here. It's something valuable. It brings those links back, and it will do nothing but raise your DA to a level higher than what it is now. So that is an excellent thing. It's a very good approach, and kudos to you, Casey, for thinking about that. With that being said, I believe that is our massive roundup of all of the articles that were submitted to us. I'm just going to take a quick check in to see if there's any questions that I missed. See, question for you from Cassandra. Could you provide an example of a spreadsheet, which I will do? I mentioned that, that's actually from a different article. Lindsay, which I mentioned your comment about the above the fold for mobile. And I think that's everything. So please do not hesitate to reach out to Chris or I or both of us if you have questions about what we said. We will be doing this again. This is going to be a regular thing that we do, but obviously not every week, because it does take a significant amount of time for us to go through and research all of this. But I want to thank you all for having the courage to submit those articles for review. Please know that we were not in any way trying to bash anybody. We loved everything that we read, and all we want to do is see you guys get better at everything that you do, so that we can all rise and make lots of money together. So fantastic, and thank you very much. And we will see you on the next The Blogger Collective Mastermind session. Take care.